Hello loves, and welcome to this message. This is a message tuning into past life energy collectively, because I received a message very, very specific that needed to be recorded, that it has to do with your karma, etc. in this lifetime, okay? You know, I attract I attract old souls. Everyone is welcome here, and if you know what I mean. If it's like a newer soul that needs the message, it will be called. But the majority is very ancient energy here on this channel. Because I myself am a very ancient soul. So the message was very specifically, the reason why you've had such a difficult life is because you haven't always been love and light in past lives. This is an incarnation where you brought on ancestral karma. Yeah, you have like your own karma, but a lot of the heavy stuff, a lot of stuff coming through is stuff that you brought upon yourself in other lifetimes. Lifetimes where you were more in the darkness than the light, like more in the shadow. You know what I mean? And we've all had lifetimes like this. And that's also a lot. There's just like so much coming through. That's also a lot of the reason why you're so, like how you're so in tune and so receptive, and how you pick up on very easily like nefarious energies, like people who are shady, or you know what I mean, like, because there's a resonance in your soul with that. Like you're like, I've been there, I know this energy and this behavior. So anyway, so a lot of like the heavier karma, and I'm not saying all of it, I'm just saying a lot of it, some of it, okay, depends on each person. But that's why it's so hard sometimes to overcome and to break, you know? And it's very emotional for you too, but that's also like, this is like such a victory lifetime. Because it's like, this is the lifetime where you balance, you settle the score. And when you do that, the reward, the karmic payout for that is so big. So let's tune in a little bit to past life energy. Let's go ahead and just see what kind of comes through, and then I'll channel it from there. Have you had incarnations where this kind of stuff was done to you? Yes. That's what I mean is, you know, it's gone both ways. There's lifetimes where you've been on both sides. And I'm not saying like anyone here is like, you know, has been like evil and, you know, like, what I'm saying is like, you've had lifetimes where you were not maybe in the right mind, or maybe something happened where you were suffering from PTSD and you like freaked out on some people, or, you know, or maybe I'm telling you guys right now that there's been some lifetimes where we were not the nicest. Okay. You know, lifetimes where we've broken people's hearts, and then the way it came back on us was our hearts were broken. You know? The Knight of Swords, yeah, it's like a rigid, cold. Speaking of which, like, I'm talking about like lifetimes where we were like more in that, you know, in the dark. So a lot of your shadow is actually these parts of you, is what I see. So, like a big part of shadow work for you I just saw 444 in this incarnation is reconnecting to these specific lifetimes, you know, of who you've been and what you've done, or just the feelings of it. this is the Game of Thrones tarot. In the Game of Thrones, his name is Ramsay Bolton. His father's Lord Bolton. And him and his father are like really, really nasty, like kind of evil people. He's evil for sure. His father's really bad too. That's what I'm talking about. And it's coming out like the Knight of Swords. Like the Knight of Swords is a rigid energy. They act on impulse. So you could have had, again, lifetimes where it was like, you know, where you were very reactive, very impulsive, very angry. You know, it really is like that, like raging out. It's like, because each time we incarnate, like we're bringing all those pieces from previous incarnations with us. You know, so if in this lifetime you had had a lot of previous lifetimes of trauma, plus in this lifetime you were experiencing trauma, like, you know, and this reading and this channeled message is coming through to help you connect to these parts of yourself and send love and forgiveness and, you know, compassion and like all these wonderful feelings that these fragmented pieces of your soul have been, like these pieces of you, it's just these pieces of your heart, like they've been abandoned. They were, you know, going into meditation with the intention of connecting specifically to past lives that were very much in the shadow, that were like your darker, you know, where you created negative karma. I want to tune in to some of my most, you know, traumatic lifetimes where I experienced, where I created negative trauma and where I experienced trauma. The Priestess. She's a fire priestess in the Game of Thrones. What did I say? This all has to do with karma and our shadow energy. And why is that coming through right now with the Lionsgate portal and this full moon coming up with the Lionsgate, with the peak energy of the Lionsgate, 4 planets retrograde, you know, or whatever. Like, this is a really powerful time of karma. Karma is collecting and paying debts. And so going back to, so right now is a time to really connect to these shadow sides and love. Like, you're just like filling yourself with healing, filling yourself with love, filling your, you know, but it's not just the parts of you where it's about your future and your goals and, you know, your gifts and like your insights. It's like you have to like create balance. Like, you can't move forward without doing this work. That's why it's so important. And, you know, this reading is probably triggering on different levels. But triggers are a point of healing. And that's what the point of this is. So you have to create balance. That's why this is coming through. It's like a dark priestess, so you could have been on the other side. You know, I mean, an example would be like someone who, you know, like being a priestess, or look, the magician, or oh, I almost said the magician, but it's the King of Pentacles. But that's perfect, because what I was going to say was, you know, maybe in a past life or a couple of past lives or something, you were like the spiritual advisor to to a lord or to, you know, yeah, because look, this is like regrets, self-sabotage, false victory, like, exactly. So this actually confirms a lot of what I'm channeling right here about the justice. So it's negative karma where the scales got continuously imbalanced through some kind of like magic or, you know, curses or spell work or intention setting or whatever it is. You know, you may have done something like maybe you were a spiritual advisor or a high priestess for like a very wealthy person. In these times, it would have been a man, or a king or a queen or something like that, a king, or like, you know what I mean? A king and queen, but advisor to the king. You may have disliked the king and you may have plotted their demise or their death or, you know, something like that where it just wasn't your place to do that, or it wasn't your place to take that into your hands. And you know what I mean? And so the universe cast judgment upon you. You created some big karmic debt in that moment. Even though in your heart, you're like, I'm saving a kingdom because he's a tyrant. Because that's what I'm getting. It was like tyranny. Like, he's a tyrant, so I'm gonna help. But the universe cast judgment upon you because you took a human life. All life is precious. Like, honestly, like, it's crazy. Like, we can receive karma for smashing a spider or you know what I mean? It's a smaller amount of it though. It's not, do you know what I mean? There are different like levels of it. I mean, karma is karma, but you know what I mean? That's why I just said a major karmic debt. Because this, in the eyes of the universe, is a major karmic debt to take the life of another human, to unalive someone. And this would also create for you trauma, grief, you know, remorse, like, you know, real heavy stuff that you've been carrying around for who knows how long and how many thousands and thousands of years, hundreds of thousands, or, you know, eons even, I don't know, billions, millions of years. So connecting to these shadow parts of yourself where you've self-sabotaged. The Hangman, yeah. It's like for, you know, a lot. So it's stuff that's created. It's made you like, it's created like a stuck, paused energy. But what I'm seeing here, so speaking of the Bolton family, where him and his father, Ramsay's evil. In the show, he's evil. And if you guys have watched Game of Thrones and you know what I'm talking about, this is their sigil. This is the Bolton's family sigil. It's the flayed man. So their enemies and people like that, like that's what they would do. They would hang them from this like these huge wooden X's. And then there'd be like fire or something around them. And then they would literally skin the enemy alive. And that's what they did. And this kind of behavior, like for us nowadays in the modern world and civilization, you know, we go, oh my gosh, that's disgusting. That's sick. I mean, in any history of time, it is. It's sick. It's evil even, right? But in these time periods, etc., like, right, going way back, that's how people that's how things were done. It wasn't uncommon for that kind of behavior. It was maybe kind of frowned upon, and maybe like most people wouldn't do that, but if you knew someone did, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, like, you know. And so exactly, this is like so beautiful the way that it's all lining up, because, and in this lifetime, you guys, some of the stuff that you do or that you've done in the past or you still do that's a form of self-sabotage, it could be like sabotaging your success, you know, like feeling wounds of unworthiness, that could stem from things like this, where in past lives you've done things where you carry a lot of guilt or shame, etc., mixed with this current incarnation where you've experienced trauma of shame and things like that, right? That's like, okay, it affects you still to this day, and it's affected you throughout your life because it needs to be healed. It needs to be forgiven and let go. And you need to fill these spaces with love and light and faith and, you know, all of that stuff. Because you guys, this is really like, but this is the thing. Every single one of us have had lifetimes like this. At least a few, some people more. But you know what I mean? So, I mean, you have to, right? At some point in time, the justice scales got tipped. And someone else doing something can't make you have negative karma. You have to do it. Right? So, 8 of Swords, the Tower, yeah. I feel like she's sitting around here. This is 8 of Swords, that mental prison where you're just thinking about all the negative stuff. Because everything about your life in these lifetimes was just so dark. You witnessed a lot. You know, you did things or maybe worked with people or for people who were very dark, and they basically forced you to do things. Like if you worked for a king as their priestess or their seer or their oracle or their magi or whatever it was, spiritual advisor, if they had an enemy or something, right, or they wanted to do what, right, they would call upon you. And use your gifts for bad. And maybe there was a lifetime or two where you were that king or queen, or you were that lord. And maybe you ordered a priestess or a seer to do that kind of stuff. Okay? This right here, a lot of like your self-sabotage behavior in this current incarnation is overthinking, like really, really, really easily going into the negative and the dark, even like really like going down rabbit holes in your thoughts and your mind about dark things. You know what I mean? Like, and then you're like, wait, what am I doing? What am I why am I thinking about this, right? You guys, that is like not great. Like that's, I mean, you guys know what I mean. There's a lot of darkness that we have endured and witnessed. And so sometimes when you drift off, you know, and then you're in that like lucid those more lucid moments of thought, sometimes that's that stuff bubbling up. Like you're like, whoa, where'd that come from? But in this lifetime, your mental prison and like, you know, and that's what I mean by like, I can still, that's why they're like, let's go ahead and address this and let's start connecting with this and clearing it and loving on it and forgiving it and healing it and asking spirit guides and angels to assist with this, giving them permission to intervene on your behalf, aligning this healing with the Lionsgate portal energy. Like, I surrender this, I release this. Lifetimes where I've, you know, where I've hurt other humans, where I've done, you know, bad things, where I've hurt people really, really badly, or I've unalived people, even if it was out of survival, like, you know what I mean? Like, just all that kind of stuff, you guys. All that kind of stuff is important. you have had lifetimes where you have witnessed a lot of like battles, not like, it doesn't even have to be like a huge, like, you know, war type thing, but battles. You know, I mean, it could literally be like the king sending out his king's guard and a few of his soldiers, or his knights, excuse me, out into the streets of the kingdom, you know, to take down a group of people or something. You know, you just, there's so much stuff. But you've seen these spears, like people using spears, like you've seen arrows, masses and masses of arrows flying all at once and taking a whole bunch of people down. You've witnessed spears, you know, spear fighting, sword fights, and you've been in them as well. Two of Cups. I would say that for, you know, a lot, I think for a lot of us, Two of Cups, like that's obviously, it's a card of like soulmates and partnership. It doesn't have to be always romantic. It could speak of platonic soulmates, right? Friendships, etc., right? But what I'm actually getting with this, you guys, is like a little mini separate message of, if you're manifesting divine union and you're doing the work to come into inner union with yourself, which this is going to help with so much, mixed with the Lionsgate energy, etc. This work right here is exactly what all of these planets in retrograde, Mercury, Saturn, Pluto, I think Chiron just went retrograde, the wounded healer, all of the energy in the planets right now in these retrogrades, this is exactly the kind of work. This is the kind of stuff that's bubbling up from the subconscious. This is also stuff that you could be having dreams about, and also having, like, starting to have remembrances, little clips, little scenes, little moments in time, little visions, a screenshot of a past life or a moment in the past life, something, you know what I mean? Lionsgate is going to activate a lot of that for you guys, by the way. I just see it. I know it. I definitely see it and know it. A lot of Akashic, a lot of past life activations, we'll say that. And remember, like, I'm telling you. But this is to, you know, and then we have the full moon. And full moon is all about release. But what I'm getting is, by sitting down and consciously tuning in with this stuff, and then consciously and intentionally, like, sending love and releasing it and forgiving it, and I let it go and all that stuff, it immediately brings stuff, especially a divine counterpart, in so fast. So fast. It's almost like this is a spiritual message guidance, because this is some kind of block. Because I'm telling you right now, the subconscious, some of the subconscious blocks that some of you guys are still, like, they're still there, where it's like of unworthiness and things like that, insecurities, whatever it is. It has to do with these kinds of lifetimes, because these kinds of lifetimes were so, you know, dark and traumatic, and things that you did and you partaked in and were a part of, or, you know, helped to achieve, or whatever it is, where you on a deeper level hold, you know, regret and shame around that. That makes you feel like, I'm not worthy. I don't deserve to be happy. I don't deserve it. I did this, I did that, I did that. And that's how you felt in these lifetimes. You know, that's when the remorse and everything was kicking in, and you'd have, you know, falling asleep at night, and you'd have all these moments of, you know, like, it was just, you couldn't shut it off. And that's how you are in this lifetime too, but with other things that create the mental prison. But it's all of the cords and dots are connected. This is a really powerful message. Okay, bottom of the deck is plant alchemy. So in past lives, we have the Priestess here. It speaks of herbs, spells, that's what I said, working with herbs, doing spell work, medicine, plant medicine, okay? So confirmation of that. Also confirmation that you've done this in past lives. This might resonate with you in this lifetime. You love gardening, you love plants, you have a green thumb, or apothecary stuff and healing and herbs and tinctures and all that kind of stuff. For some of you guys, if you do plant medicine, you will probably, you might, I shouldn't say probably, but you might, more than likely, have some kind of experiences connected to some of this stuff, you know what I mean, and past life stuff. Or maybe you've had, maybe you've been in an ayahuasca ceremony or something and you've experienced that, and maybe this is some of the stuff that came through. It's so sad how nowadays, like with all this, like it's cool to be spiritual. It's like fashionable now to be, and trendy to be spiritual. And it's trendy to be like, you know, dressed in white robes and, you know, get like mandalas tattooed on your neck and then, you know, like do ayahuasca every day. It's really sad how it's abused now with this like new age spiritual like generation and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's really sad. Because it should always be done in a sacred ceremony, sacred spaces. Ayahuasca, especially only with a shaman, only with, you know what I mean? It's really sad. Okay, what else? And speaking of all this stuff, like you've been the shaman, you know, I mean, you could have put like a dark spell on someone, you know? Could have been like, let's say someone hurt your family. You know, it doesn't, when I say this, I don't mean it like you were like evil. Like, we know there's evil out there. We know there's demonic forces. We know the reptilian agendas, etc., and energies. I'm not saying you were ever that. That's not the case at all. What I'm saying is you've done stuff. Let's say it was like a time period where I did an Akashic reading this morning with a client, and she had several past lives as a man and was in several wars, like historical, like the Revolutionary, Civil, and the World War. Okay, the First World War. It was crazy. Like she kept coming back. It was a part of her contract. So I'm telling, and that's normal. Look at that. A dark alchemist. You can't make it up. You can't make it up. You cannot make it up. And then bottom of the deck is blessings, blessings, blessings. Okay, we'll get back to that in a second because the blessings, Lionsgate is huge alignment. And I've been channeling this for a while, you guys, right? Those of you guys who've been with me. We do have a lot of new subscribers, so welcome, my loves. I don't even remember if I said my intro. I'm Erica. I'm a psychic medium and a high priestess. Welcome. Anyways, and happy August, happy Lionsgate week, all the things. If you guys want to work with me one-on-one, maybe you want to do your own private Akashic reading, like you want to dive into your own personal, like I want to know more about all the things, or general reading, etc., healing session. All of my fun stuff is in the description box. Also, you guys, we are doing an AA quantum healing and activation workshop over Zoom. You know, we do these whenever I get the call with certain portals. Of course, we're going to do Lionsgate. This one is going to be amazing because obviously it's with Lionsgate. Lionsgate this year on the 8th, it's a Friday. And we're going to do the workshop the morning, Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the 9th. The 9th is also the full moon with the portal in its peak energy. Like, oh my God. So we are going to do we're going to do a big release and manifestation ritual together. And then we're going to astral travel, and I will be channeling and facilitating via spirit guides, whoever comes through. We're going to astral travel to the Sirius star because Lionsgate, it's all in alignment with the Sirius star and the pyramids of Egypt, etc., specific pyramids. And so we're going to go up to the Sirius star. We're going to hang out there for a little bit. We're going to receive some stuff, do some work, receive some healing, etc., from Sirius. And then we're going to come back down and we're going to go into a temple. And that's where we will finish the rest of the experience. Okay, and I call it an experience because it's not a meditation. It's not just like a transmission where it is an experience. And those of you guys who've been to the workshops, you guys know. And if you feel like you want to share, just say like, yeah, they're awesome or whatever. Or, they suck. No, I'm just kidding. Just please, your comments would mean the world. And those of you guys who are just here and you like are like, oh my God, I needed this reading so bad. Thank you for your comments and for supporting and just all the things. By the way, what Spirit is coming through and saying is like, this reading is coming through the way it is today because it's necessary. This is the missing puzzle piece to a lot of the heaviness that you guys have been feeling and you just can't put your finger on. Or you're suffering with something, or you're struggling with something where, let's say it's an addiction. Let's say it's like an addiction and you're just like, I know it, or a relationship, a karmic partnership or something else. I know it's not good for me, or I know eating ice cream every night isn't good for me, or I know, you know, I need to change my diet, it's not good for me. But I self-sabotage, I 5 of Swords, I keep doing things that I know they're not for my highest and greatest good, but I keep doing them anyways. And I feel like, I know exactly, you guys, because we've all been here. The feeling that it feels like is like almost like something's got a control over you. Now, we have to be very careful here because sometimes that can be the case where something is latched on or there's some kind of demonic entity and it's siphoning and it's controlling. Okay? But this is a reading about like dark karma lifetimes where you created like that heavy, dense karma, etc. And in this incarnation, this one right here, this is the one where you pay all these karmic debts. But there's a lot of energy of, why do I keep doing this to myself? Or why do I keep finding myself here? Or why do I self-sabotage? Or why do I spend money and go shopping when I know I don't have it to spend? Or whatever it is. Why do I not show up for my classes when I know I need to go to my classes? Let's say you're in like, you know, I don't know, you're getting your master's or you went back to school or I don't know, it could be anything, right? Anyways, it's all connected. And so this right here is your missing puzzle piece, my loves. I just saw 222. This is your missing puzzle. I mean, I'm not saying it's like the only thing, but what I'm saying is it's a big chunk because it's subconscious. It's the unawareness. It's the hidden. And so now you get to go in and but you know that these parts of you exist on a deep level. Like, you know, you haven't had every single lifetime just rainbows, butterflies, and unicorns and some trauma. Like, you had to have known that you've been on the other side where you have been the one inflicting harm or pain or hurt or heartbreak or injustice. And ever since, it's like this deep wound that you carry around and you have no idea that it's affecting all these other things in your life where you cut yourself short or you sell yourself short, where you settle, where you sabotage, where you don't have faith in yourself, where you lack self-love and worthiness. Like, a lot of that stems from this. Anyways, you guys, I cannot. Dark alchemist, that's exactly what she was in the show. She was a dark priestess. In the end, she started, I don't want to spoil it, but she was not, so, you know, but listen, in the end, speaking of karma, that's exactly what happened to her, because in the show, holy shit, duh, Erica, in the show, that's who she was. She was, Lady Melisandre, that was her name, like Lady Melisandre. And she was the spiritual advisor, and she worshipped a god of fire. And she channeled this god of fire, and he gives me all the answers and all the info. And she was the spiritual advisor of a king, King Stannis Baratheon. Okay, so, oh my God, duh. Like, you guys, I seriously, I've seen Game of Thrones. I could pronounce like word for word, like every episode of Game of Thrones ever. But I literally did not even think about that or put that together until right this very second. A pro at transmuting shadow. So in your current incarnation, that's your super, like, you're like, I know this stuff. Like, okay, so when it comes to dark stuff, you can transmute it. Like people who like act dark to you, you can pick up on darkness very easily. There's a whole like, you know it because you have experienced it and you have even embodied it at times. When someone's telling a lie, oh, I know lies. Yeah, because I'm intuitive and empathic, or I'm psychic, but also because I have lied a lot in past lives and in this lifetime or whatever, you know? So I know it, right? So this is really a reading of owning your shit. And this is what we all have to do. And like I said, you can't jump into the next level fully until something is balanced here. Okay. Look at this. Being drawn to darker things. Scorpio vibes, like Pluto, death doulas, you know, people like morbid, like people go, oh, that's morbid, but you're like let's say like you love cemeteries. You aren't afraid of death. Maybe like death doula. That's funny because that came out in a reading just the other day. But anyways, like death doulas and being there as people transition out, and like not just a birth doula, but a death doula. Both are equally as important, honoring the birth and the death. Both are very important and very needed. But it's like you might be like me. I'm a dark alchemist in a big way. I'm a shadow worker in a big way. I embody my divine feminine, my darker divine feminine in a big way. Like I'm a shadow worker, so I'm a master transmuter of alchemy, a dark alchemist. Like I can transmute darkness, shadow, like really nasty energy like nothing. I do it all the time, especially when I'm doing like healing sessions with clients and stuff. When I have to tune in and like I see attachments or a parasite or this or that stuff is nasty. And so, you know what I mean? But I'm able to, you know what I mean? So it doesn't, but also like, being drawn to the darker things, like, you know, like, maybe at some point you were kind of goth or very like vampy, or you love like Halloween and horror movies and vampires, and you know, like I'm like that. Like I love like, and I've always been like this, and my mom's like this, and so is my so was my grandma, her mom. And we're all connected to the Rose and the Magdalens, and it's just crazy. But we all have that darker feminine aspect, like where we like, or the darker, we're drawn to the macabre, to horror, like that kind of stuff. I love like Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin and Ozzy Osbourne, and I, you know, like I've always just loved that stuff. I love Rob Zombie. I love Rob Zombie's movies. Like most people look at him and they're like, he's sick. And I'm like, it is gross. And I have a hard time watching that stuff now, but I've always loved it. And I just, you know what I mean? So it's nothing bad. It's just we connect easier to the darkness because we have experienced a lot of it. We understand it. We connect to it as a long lost friend, not a foe. And that's the message here. And I'm trying my best to translate and channel into words the best I can and explain. It's been more challenging with this Mercury retrograde, trust me, for me personally. Just being drawn to darker things, even being like more drawn to the night. Maybe you're like more of a night person versus like a morning date, like, you know, person. Wearing darker clothing, like, you know, just all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, like for me, I'm very like angelic and, you know, like in my light and like a fairy, and like I'm, you know, so, and that's the beauty of us, is it's the duality of it all and who we are, but as one. Different, but the same. So just confirmation. But that's crazy because literally I mean, I was using that as an example this whole time because that's what I was receiving and seeing. And then literally I remember in the show, that's what she was. She was the priestess advisor to a king who was trying to, it was like in the show, it's like the way everything goes down, it's like 4 or 5 people rise up from like, you know, wealthy families, and just the way like different things occur and people's lies and people cheating. And there's different people that feel like they have claim to the throne of the kingdom. And so they basically start a war where like these 5 like prominent families basically go to war, and they're all fighting for the crown. So she's advising one of those kings. But because of all this work, now I want to say that you guys, if you're still here, right, you have transmuted a lot of this. But the message right now is, hey, like I said, this is an answered prayer, because you've been feeling it, or you're like trying to tap in, and you're like, you know, and I'm just laying it out for you, you know. And this isn't going to be exact, of course, for everyone. This is not a personal reading, but I'm going to tell you, there are a lot of you guys who have had past lives as, you know, working with lords and ladies, kings and queens, the royal court, priestess, witch, healer, shaman, high priest, spiritual advisor, magician, you know, whatever it is. You've seen so much injustice, and I'm telling you right now, and that's a lot of the guilt and shame is, you know, a lot of this stuff you did out of fear. If you worked for someone like him, you did what you were told. Doesn't matter how powerful and gifted you are, you did what you were told until one day you got sick of it. You know, that's what I mean. I gave the example earlier, like, you know, but blessings are here for you. So this Lionsgate, and also just doing this work, checking in and being like, I lovingly, with unconditional love, connect to all these parts of myself, and I release them with love, and I transmute them into my highest good and into love, and, you know, all these things. I release any kind of, like, you know, whatever you guys say. But there it is, mi amors. There it is. 40 minutes of straight boom. Okay. So it all leads to blessings, though. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Okay. So I think I'm going to leave it here. Should we get a message? Should we get a message? Let's get a message from the angels. Anyways, I love you guys. I'm going to formally announce or post tomorrow about the Lionsgate Portal Workshop this next Saturday, the 9th. But if you want to email me and you just want to like sign up, that's fine too. Just send me an email. Subject title 88 Portal Workshop, and then we'll get you set up. It's $44 USD. And also the 7/7 portal that we did with Goddess Isis and Osiris, that one is still, you could purchase the recording down below. That's also in the description box, the info for that. So anyways, okay. Oh, so the first one that came out is the prayer. I love this. This ties into all this, okay, guys? Dear guardian angel, help me to believe that all is possible through love. Help me manifest my dreams and live an inspiring and fulfilling life. Help me to feel God's presence in every moment. Help me feel eternally loved. Thank you for being always by my side. And so it is. This is a beautiful, beautiful prayer, you guys, to connect and say with when you're doing this work right here, this shadow work. And then add your own stuff to it as well about your past lives and releasing and letting it all go, and, you know, where you're storing it in your body or in your chakras or, you know, whatever. Okay? And then look at this. Speaking of blessings, 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 bottom of the deck is the miracle card. Dearest one, even if all hope seems lost. See, because a lot of you guys, myself included, we are just now barely coming out of like the darkest, like, it was real heavy for like a long time. For me, like a year and a half easy. But now I see it, I feel it for me personally, and for many of you guys, the blessings are here. The miracles are here. The dharma, the good karma is here. Paying these karmic debts. And you guys, the darker the karma and like the more like heavy the karma, then in this lifetime, the heavier and harder it is to move through. That's like these kinds of lifetimes here and like other trauma, that is super dark night of the soul when you're processing, when you're, you know, or what it creates, like the wounds you're still carrying and the, you know. And look, love, yeah, love is all around. Love is all around. Anyways, even if all hope seems lost, let no hope slip away. For I, your guardian angel, am constantly by your side. Surrender all your concerns to me and trust in the healing power of love. Please believe that you are never alone. Together, we shall work through each issue or situation which is of concern to you. All heals with the passing of time. Magic and miracles are about to manifest. Yes. There you go. There you go. All right, guys. I love you so much. Thank you, mi amores. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. I love you. This is gorgeous. These are my, like, I love this. I hope and I pray that I receive more messages and downloads like about this kind of stuff and going into these kinds of energies and stuff, because I love it. I love it. It's so, so, so powerful and helpful when it comes to healing. Absolutely. So I love you guys. And hey, when you were listening to this, if things are coming up for you or you're like anything, please share. I would love that. And I thank you. All right. Mwah.